I've never met a business owner who said, gee, I fired him too soon. I let him go too soon. I really wish I would have kept him longer.
And my business partner, Emily, she'll tell me all the time, I've never once woken up like, dang, we shouldn't have fired them. And I'm like, it's right. But see, I'm an empath. And so a lot of times I'm like, but they have a kid, or but it's almost Christmas. But also that person could have chosen to adapt to the rules and the new culture. So we all have choices, and somebody's got to make the hard ones.
You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan England, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest.
Welcome back to another episode of Titans of the Trades. I am your host, Ryan England, and today's guest is someone who actually grew up. Humble beginnings, working for the family business, made a decision to start thinking about it differently, and created some amazing marketing processes to now I think they're at close to a dozen locations. Like, it's an amazing story about taking the family business and really scaling it using the right kind of marketing strategies. So if you're in that position right now where you're thinking, how do I get to the next level? This episode is for you. I want to introduce to today's show, not only someone who grew up in the family business, mechanical and plumbing, but also someone who now has a marketing company. I want to introduce Crystal Williams, the founder of Lemon Seed Marketing. Crystal, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
You know, we were talking before I hit record. I was like, we just need to hit record. Like, you are so much fun to talk to. You have so much knowledge about the industry. Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you're at.
Oh gosh, Ron. Well, you'll be able to tell I have a Southern accent and then I talk fast. So everybody kind of has to hold on. But so Crystal Williams, I am a proud, what I call #trade baby. I grew up in this industry in my family's heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in rural East Texas. We now have 10 locations or so under a different format, but we've grown pretty consistently. But man, I have done everything from old school dispatching via a radio to filing to then in 2014, I decided that I was not going to do that for the rest of my life. Went off to college, got my degree in marketing and communications, came back to work for my brother at the time. So my dad had bought it from my grandpa, and then my brother bought the business from my dad. And I came back in 2014 to start. My brother just said, Crystal, I'm getting ready to acquire these other companies that are within like 30 miles of us, but I need help. Like, I want us to fix our culture, our employee retention, our employee recruitment, and then our advertising and brand. Like, I need somebody to come bring all that together. So I said, a challenge accepted, jumped back in the family business and did that for 5 years. Until my brother knocks on my office door one day and says, I think other contractors can use what you do for me. Why don't you start venturing out on your own here? And found a great partner in one of my really good friends, Emily, and she and I did Lemon Seed, and here we are today.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So you grew up in the family business, and I know that for a lot of people that grow up in the family business, they kind of hold on to some of the old school ways of thinking, and that's the way we've always done it. So that's the way this generation's going to do it. But you broke out of that, and now you've got 10 locations, very well-known brand. You've got a lot of experience. When you first started making that shift and you came back and you said, hey, let's do some of this branding for the family business, what were some of the initial hurdles that you faced in those early stages that a lot of people are listening right now and are like, well, I can't do what you're talking about because they're dealing with some of those things. What were some of those challenges and how'd you overcome them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I love this thought process here because I deal with progress over perfection has to be where you put a lot of attention. So, a lot of people will tend to be so focused down in the weeds that every little thing has to be perfect before we launch it. And then we also don't make processes around outliers. So with those two schools of thought, we just kind of ran with it. thankfully, my dad is very much a visionary and he's very marketing minded. And so he had already done some cool things for the 90s, which was like wrapped trucks. We were the first one in our market with like beautifully wrapped vehicles. We were the first one in our market to probably spend any actual dollars on advertising. And I do remember we were sitting at about $3 million in total revenue, residential, light commercial. And we had been in business, 35, 38 years by then. And I remember my dad saying that we were going to spend $280,000 in marketing. And my brother and I were like, holy smokes. My brother told me, he's like, Crystal, I thought I wouldn't go sleep for 2 days. Like, how are we going to do this? So my dad thankfully had started some of it. But I think what really happened is my brother and I had to get on the same page that when you start a culture shift and you start turning a cruise ship around, there will be the people that you fear. There's these people that you're like, oh gosh, they're not going to want to get on board. And odds are they're going to go left or they're going to go right. And some people will just naturally fall off because when you start changing the paradigm shift there of shifting everyone's way of thinking about culture and way of thinking about your brand, a lot of people actually buy into it really well and lean hard your direction. And the few that don't, where they used to blend in with the crowd, those few employees that used to always be snarking behind the scenes, now they start sticking out like a sore thumb. And honestly, a lot of times the problem takes care of itself.
I love that you said that because I see that every day in the work we do over here at Core Matters as well. When you become intentional about who you are as a company, the people that have been riding on your coattails for a while, like all of a sudden, I don't feel comfortable here anymore. And that discomfort manifests itself. And you're like, I'm not sure you want to be here anymore. And they're like, yeah, I don't. But if this is the way you're going. But I have seen that the majority of people will get on board because they love leaders with direction. They love leaders who are intentional about the vision of the company. And when they have that, they're like, I'm on board. Like, I've been wanting this for a long time. So I love that you see that shift as well.
Yeah. And, a lot of times we focus so much on, what would I do if he quit? What if John quits and then I have to go do it? So part of the conversation that I have when I'm talking to people about a culture shift is you have to be prepared. You're going to go through great things and you're going to go through very sucky things because you might have a rock star on your team, but really he's a culture suck. He might be a fantastic technician, but just sucking the life out of your company. And you have to be willing to make the hard decisions. And a lot of you aren't. So listen, a lot of you are not willing to make those hard decisions. And at one time, and still to this day, that's something that I personally have to work on is hard decisions. But I've watched, even in my own company here, I've watched myself let things perpetuate for too long. And then I'm like, man, if I would have cut this off 3 months ago, this is on me. So when you're doing these culture shifts, like you are the owner, you are the empowered enough to say, when I believe in my brand and I believe in my mission, my team will too. And those that fall off, Yeah,
I've never met a business owner who said, gee, I fired him too soon. I let him go too soon. I really wish I would have kept him longer. No, usually they wake up and the team rallies and says, how can I support you? Thank you for finally making this decision to rip that person out of here. Because they've been bringing me down.
And my business partner, Emily, she'll tell me all the time, I've never once woken up like, dang, we shouldn't have fired them. And I'm like, it's right. But see, I'm an empath. And so a lot of times I'm like, but they have a kid but it's almost Christmas. But also that person could have chosen to adapt to the rules and the new culture. So we all have choices and somebody's got to make the hard ones. And so that's one of the biggest things I think you have to get your mindset ready for when you start making these culture changes. Get your own self prepared for what's about to come. And then you yourself have to buy into this brand and this culture that you're going to push internally. Because internal people are basically raving fans. If your own team won't recommend your company to their friends and family, that's an issue. So you got to start internally.
Yeah, I agree. And I like to use that analogy of putting on the oxygen mask, right? Like if you don't take care of you first, which is it's your company. If you don't take care of the company, you can't take care of the rest of your people. And the thing I love about the trades is most of these entrepreneurs, I'd say probably all of them, they really deeply care about their people, like really way too much. And they don't know how to use that power for good. They usually do the things like, well, they've got a kid. I'm like, well, but yeah, like you just said, they could have chosen to get on board. They could have said, hey, maybe I need to do this right for my family. I'm going to get on board. Or I'm going to go to them and say, hey, you know what? I don't like the direction. Can we talk about how I can transition to another company? Like, it doesn't have to be this horrible rip the Band-Aid off and everybody suffers for a little while. Like, there are ways to have that conversation.
Yes.
So, and you know, that's something that I wanted to talk to you about too. As you're making these changes, so you came in, you did this for the family business. Now you do this for companies all over the country. Is that fair?
Fair. Yes, absolutely.
All over the country. You coach them through this process and you help them understand it. And you're really doing it with the emphasis being on, here's how you create a better brand for your community so that you can grow your business, get what you want out of the business. And
yes.
One of the ways you communicate those insights is through your podcast. And so tell me a little bit about From the Yellow Chair. I would love to know where the name came from. And then also, you know, what are the things that really resonate that you're seeing? Hey, we've talked about being stuck and some of the hard things you have to do, but what are some of the fun things that you're seeing work out there from the guests you've had on your podcast or even your own experience?
Yeah. So From the Yellow Chair came from when I went to Emily. So Emily's a little different than me. Like, I love to talk. Like, I can talk to a wall and be perfectly content. Emily's a little less want to talk to a wall. And so I said, hey, I think we should do this podcast. And she begrudgingly, but still willingly was like, okay, let's do it. So we went hard and heavy for a couple of years together, just really running the show. We had an assistant at the time that was super kind, worked with both me and Emily. And she was like, hey, what about this yellow chair idea? And then Emily, being the branding queen that she is, she was like, okay, From the Yellow Chair. So, and then she made this really cute yellow chair logo with a microphone in the middle, and it just kind of went. So, you know, when we live everything brand forward. So when Emily and I got together, she was like, okay, we're going to name the company Lemon Seed Marketing. And like, do you like this? And I was like, yes, because I've learned, don't question the experts, right? So I felt like Emily was an expert. I trusted her opinion, and Lemon Seed has really served us really well. I mean, everything we do is yellow. We try all the fun things so that we can just keep our brand top of mind. So we try to practice what we preach here a little bit, Ryan, you know, just living what we do. So on the podcast, I think some of the best things, and you even mentioned this as part of like being on your show, like, hey, when you're on the show, contractors want to hear real stories of real application and real success. And so I try a lot to interview like actual people that are doing actual things. So, you know, right now I think that we are in this guru phase because social media has pushed all of these people to the front. And the louder you are and the more visible you are, people start to believe you. And there is not a lot of substance sometimes. And so really, when I can find people that are actually doing good things, not just teaching good things, those are the people that I seek to be out on the podcast and really engage in conversations, because I think we learn really well from each other. I mean, I listen to business books because I'm a business trying to grow a B2B business, but a lot of my own contractors, they're trying to get more customers. And so I do everything I can to stay top of mind with any vendor that's doing cool things, and then people that are actual contractors that are being successful.
I love that you brought that up, that you're just staying connected to people in the industry, maybe not necessarily, you know, someone that's going to benefit you right away, just so you can stay connected and visible inside the industry. And it's one of the things we talk about when it comes to recruiting is this idea that there are a lot of people that want to help you succeed. Yeah. And Indeed is not one of them, just so we're clear, right? Indeed is not a company that wants you to succeed.
Correct.
They even say in their tagline, which is helping people find jobs, not helping employers find good people. They would never say that.
Great point. I love that. That's a great point. They're here for the employee, not the employer.
Yeah. But your suppliers, they want to see you succeed. They want to help you if they can. Your other vendors, your marketing partners, your PR partners, they all want to help.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I encourage people to always think, hey, I've got this network around me. I've got this community of people surrounding my business. How can we help them? How can we equip them so that they can help us with the recruiting, with bringing great people in, with helping us find our next rock star? And
so
go ahead.
So a little pro tip, right? I've learned from talking to different TMs, different supply houses, different distributors and manufacturers. They are like a moth to a flame when you are a well organized and driven contractor. So, usually they would say squeaky wheel gets the grease. I don't want to be the whiny contractor. It's like, your pricing's too high, because they hear that all the time, right? They hear that every day. What they really respond well to that I've seen is when they find a contractor that knows who they are. They're like, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Well, then naturally, vendors and manufacturers, distributors, they want to support those people. They got to deal with the whiny people, but they want to support and get behind these powerful contractors that are doing things. And you also can move very stealthily through your market, meaning you don't have to brag to everybody that you're running a $50 million company. Listen, your actions, your social media, what you're putting out as far as like celebrating your employees and celebrating the opening of a new location, people are going to be like, what are they doing and how can I be a part of it?
There's so much wisdom in that. So thank you for sharing that. It's funny because think about, like, every contractor will tell us, oh, those whiny customers, like, I don't want to go out of my way to support them, right? Like, we all know that. We've all got those stories.
You
but those
tolerate.
customers are like, I'm flexible. You tell me what you need. I'm there for you. You will bend over backwards for them. I love that you take the exact same thing that they whine and talk about and just say, well, think about it. You're the whiny customer now.
Yes. It's the same thing when they complain. People will tell me, well, my customers complain about it being $350 for me to change a capacitor. And I'm like, well, sir, you called me a while ago and argued over $50 for me to graphic design something for you. So everybody is price conscious. And so you see, but a lot of times we put ourselves in the world of woe is me instead of being solution driven and being good, defaulting to good in life. We always default to whining. And I'm just telling you now, positive people and driven people are who are standing out in the crowd.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story. I talked to a HVAC contractor. Gosh, this was probably 5-6 years ago. The only way I know that was pre-COVID. But they had an email list of like 85,000 people, and they were struggling to recruit even people that wanted to get into the trades. Like, they had a great apprenticeship program, everything else. And I go, well, here's a pro tip. Put in your newsletter to those 85,000 people that you are ready to grow the company and you've got this great apprenticeship program, and anybody knows getting out of high school that isn't going to college that would love a career in the trades. And you know what they told me? I can't do that. If my customers know that we're hiring, they might think that we can't serve them.
Or they'll think you're growing.
That is the most scarcity mindset thing I've ever heard. But you know what? They actually said out loud what I think a lot of other people are thinking. I don't want to tell people that I need more people because they're going to get concerned and go, well, maybe I should go somewhere else. But that's not what people are thinking. They're thinking what you're saying. They're growing. That's awesome. But they think, well, if I tell people that I don't have enough people, maybe they'll think I'm not a good employer. Maybe I'm not a good place to work. And I'm just like, we have to stop thinking that way and go back to what you started with, which is progress, not perfection.
Yes. Well, and the other thing is, like, you are the storyteller of your own story if you will tell it. If you don't tell it, if you don't say things with celebrating people on social media and celebrating that you're growing. I mean, when McWilliams got ready to hire, we launched a Here We Grow campaign. And it's we had to fire 2 technicians. One of them got a DWI. Like, listen, we all deal with cray behind the scenes, crazy stuff, right? Behind the scenes. But you're going to tell people we're growing. It might be to refill the 2 spots that we just had, but you control the narrative. Unless you don't say anything at all, and then you let the world of opinion control the narrative, and people don't know anything about your company because you're not telling them. So I encourage you to share the positive things with people online. Respond to all of your reviews. Post about good reviews. Post about people. Another thing I hear from contractors is, well, I don't want to put my good technician. Somebody's going to come and recruit them. Well, not if you're doing a good enough job. And they might try to recruit them. But if you're doing a good enough job, working with them, building trust with them, being an accommodating boss. So there's difference in being a pushover and being too hard. Yep. So if you can land somewhere in the middle where people respect you, but they also trust you, there's a lot of power in that. And we actually, McWilliams, we got frustrated with trying to fill opportunities. And so we we started doing some things. And like, when you partner with people that will help you, you really can come up with some good ways to find people that naturally start flowing into your business that almost automatically fit your culture. Because if you can get your team full of solid people, birds of a feather flock together. So odds are their friends and family are pretty much in this, they live, work, and play the same way that your internal team does. So if you get that internal team solid, then their friends and family tend to probably also be solid individuals.
Yeah, I like to say that A players, rock stars, superstars, whatever you want to call them, they like to play for A player teams or rock star teams. And so if you don't have that A player mentality, that A player team where the team is just filled with them, it's going to be really hard to recruit A players because they don't want to play on a B or a C team. They've done that before. They know what it's like, and it never ends well for them.
Yeah, your goal should always be to get out of the minor leagues and into the big leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about something that I know we are both incredibly passionate about. And I like to say it this way. We know there's a labor crisis in the trades. We all know there is. Like, there's no debating that. Whether there's a shortage or not, I can debate that, but there is a crisis. And one of the fastest ways that I believe we could solve that crisis is to stop alienating 50% of the population from the trade.
Girls rule the world.
So from an employer's mindset, because I know you are very passionate about women entering the trades, but from an employer's perspective, what are some things that employers could start doing or start thinking about to be more attractive to women coming into the trades, or even being able to be more receptive to that idea? Because I think that's where a lot of the problem is. We got a whole bunch of employers that have just kind of turned a blind eye and said, women don't want to work in the trades. But I think there's a lot of things employers can do to help.
Well, let's just call it what it is. Most men are like, I don't want to deal with the drama of a bunch of women on the team. That's literally what we hear quite often, like girls are drama. And listen, at the end of the day, a lot of times we are emotional, and we tend to be that way. We're designed to be that way. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're any more emotional than your whiny install crew that doesn't want to go install, or your whiny technicians that don't want to go to the next call.
That is throwing tools at your truck every day when he's mad. Like, that's emotion.
Yeah. So I think we can all levels set to that there is emotion in general. But here's the thing. Women naturally connect better with homeowners. Women naturally know how to multitask, and women naturally are going to have a better disposition naturally. Men just naturally don't come off as friendly. Now, of course, there's exceptions to all of these rules. Are there girls that don't make connections and guys that make connections? Yes. But at the end of the day, naturally, what you'll see with a lot of females is that they tend to come in and they'll have the highest average tickets, the higher turnover rates. They're going to have the higher customer satisfaction. And I believe it's one of two things. They either just have a lower intimidation factor when they arrive in the home, or they just are truly better salesmen of themselves in the company. Both of those are highly probable. But if you go look at your top selling technician, odds are that he has a very bubbly, outgoing personality, and people just love talking to them. So they engage and they buy more. Women tend to naturally be that way a little bit more than men. So one of the things that I've always said that I feel like contractors worry about is, well, she's gonna get pregnant, and how am I going to deal with that? Well, what I would encourage people, is it's not 1950 anymore. It is very much a cohabitation style lifestyle now. So, men clean and women can mow the yard, and men can stay home. Like, I know this should not be shocking most people, but women now are especially, and there is a huge, I'm going to call it an epidemic of single parents. And so women are seeking opportunities to earn jobs on their own, earn them outright by their intelligence and their abilities. They just want a chance, because I can tell you, women deserve a chance to show you that they are fantastic plumbers, fantastic installers, fantastic technicians, and then not to downplay your CSRs and dispatchers that probably right now are predominantly women. They are the first line of defense. They are the first line and communication point that the majority of your customers are going to have. And so we just need to value women in the industry all around more for what they bring to the table. The best example I have is my brother goes to the car wash every single week. And he goes to the car wash, and we were looking for some more people to join our team. and he had a business card and he handed it to this lady at the desk. And he said, Crystal, every week she comes out and says, "Hi, Mr. McWilliams. How are you today? Same that you got last week. We have a new scent. Would you like to try this new scent in your car?" And he's like, she is engaging. She asks questions. She reiterates. So he's like, "Hey, if you're ever looking for a job, let me know." Well, like 2 days later, she's sitting in our lobby and she goes, Mr. Trey told me that I can talk to you guys about a job, and like, I'm a mom and I want a career. And so she started off as a CSR, moved to dispatcher, and then became a plumber. And she became a plumber, went through our home service academy, which is our internal academy, and was having like some of the best average tickets and installs and things like that. And she told everybody, she said, "I just don't know what to do because I can actually afford to take my kids on vacation by myself." She moved out from living with her parents by herself. And honestly, it's just, you need to just give an opportunity. Like, how about we start taking people for face value, not necessarily automatically assuming that women are, oh, they're too weak. Listen, you want to see, there's some rock star install women pulling those condensers and things, moving them around. We will figure it out. I just think we need an opportunity to do that. But more than anything, it is very good for your brand, for people to see that you have this variety. To be honest, like, are you appealing? Is your company appealing to all types of ethnicities? Like, does everyone feel welcome to work with you because you have a great environment, a great culture? I hope so. You should work to that. But I'm from the South, so I know what goes on. I know what gets said and done. But when we can shift that culture to being more inclusive and more friendly and more loving, and here's the only Christian thing I'll say on the call today. I'm a very strong Christian. I believe in being positive, in helping people find joy in coming to work every day. The world will make us sad enough. So if I can create an environment where we bring joy to people's life again, and they enjoy coming to work, whether I'm male or female, and you open your eyes a little bit as an owner to opportunities, you will change the trajectory of your business.
Oh, I love that. There were so many incredible points in what you just shared about creating an environment where women feel welcome. And I'm not just talking about the experienced ones. I'm talking about the next generation saying, what do I want to do? Like, being a plumber doesn't have to be a gross, smelly, dirty job, which is always the thing. Oh, women don't want to do that because it's dirty. I'm like, drains is like 5% of being a plumber. Like, the smelly stuff is like such a small piece of being a plumber.
We don't talk about that part a lot.
We just don't talk about that part because it's such a small piece, but that's the perception everybody has. Like, when I was in Arizona, there's a plumber there, and their tagline is the smell good plumber, implying that most plumbers don't smell good. Well, I grew up around that. And so my vision of plumbers was butt cracks and smelly, right? Because that's how the media portrayed them. And so one of the things I always think about too is, how do we take some of the points you made about getting over this idea about single parents? I mean, there's so many different things we could go down rabbit holes on that. But I find that most single parents are the most committed, loyal people out there because they don't have someone else supporting them.
No, and they need the job. They want the job and they need it. So they're willing to do it. You know, another interesting thing is, one time I had somebody like, well, what are they going to wear? What are these women technicians going to wear? It's the same thing. Like, how about we just start thinking about, you have to get outside the box here, but how about we just start thinking about different schedules other than Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, or whenever you get off, and like, how can we start working better to create a little bit more work-life balance for our teams? I'm not over the top about this. I understand hard work. I understand that your day has to start well before 8 o'clock and it will a lot of times end after 5 o'clock. Remember, I work in a state where it's 105 degrees 90% of the year, so I understand how hard HVAC people work, how hard they work, and how this idea of, oh, here we go, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, it's just not reasonable. But it doesn't mean that there's not some unique schedules that you can figure out. And I also encourage you to be releasing those schedules more advanced than 2 days. So if I am a single mom, I know what my work schedule looks like next month or even the next 2 weeks so that I can make arrangements. Give people the opportunity to be successful. Let's set people up for success, not see if they can survive. Just change your mindset there.
You and I need to do a webinar together. That's almost that we're aligned on, that we could talk about and give different tips from different perspectives. I love it.
Yeah.
Crystal, this has been amazing. You definitely are an authority in this space. You have a wealth of knowledge and a really keen way of explaining the concepts in ways that I think are actionable. Like people don't just hear, hey, treat women better. Like you're like, no, do this, this, and this. And I love that about you.
Thank you.
I know there are people listening right now going, okay, this Crystal, she sounds like she knows her stuff. I need to know more. Maybe I need to look at engaging with lemon seed marketing, or maybe they just want to follow you to just get more of your wisdom. How do people connect with you? And then secondly, you also have an offer for our listeners. So if you could share that, I'd appreciate it.
I do. So just a real quick, because this is not for me to sell lemon seed, but just so people know what they're getting into with lemon seed. So we're a full service branding and strategy company that basically like a fractional CMO style approach. We basically come alongside contractors and help them organize all their advertising spend and their brand. So most importantly, we live everything brand forward. So we will get that core piece from your company determined first. And then we start figuring out how to bring that to life through different things, through social media or through your ads and offers and where you're spending your money for tactics. But I would love to talk to anyone. But the very first thing that Lemon Seed asks our clients to do is an audit. And that is an audit to determine your ideal avatars, like who in your market are we talking to for advertising purposes. We do that. And then we build out a strategic plan of how to use your marketing dollars to drive more people to use your company. But the secret sauce is we tie in a lot of internal promotions so that your team knows what's going on. And we celebrate your team a lot so that we drive all these people because they want to work with a company that does great things, not only for the community, but for their people as well. So right now, that ideal target market, I have $500 off anybody that mentions this podcast when they fill out our form at lemonseedmarketing.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Like I said, a wealth of knowledge, so many good stuff. I've got notes here myself. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
Ryan England here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.